Is this thing on? Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Welcome to my review stroke reaction of Moon Knight Episode 1. Moon Knight Episode 1 is, and I know a lot of people say this and it kind of annoys me, is very different to anything you've seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe before. Oscar Isaacs, who of course is one of the best actors we have within the art form and industry, delivers something fantastic. And wow, I love his English accent. He really does sound like one of my English mates, which is great. So on the surface, he seems to be playing a character called Stephen. Forgot the surname. Sorry about that. Sue me later. So he seems like a very, very likable guy. He lives in a little room, an apartment on his own in London. He works in a museum. I think it's in an Egyptian museum. So very likable. He talks to his fish. I think he rings up his mum, if there actually is even a mum, at the end of that phone. And so everything seems very normal until he gets to the museum and a very attractive woman is looking forward to their date at a steakhouse or a steak restaurant. He doesn't seem to have any knowledge of this situation. Also, when we first find him, we get this situation where he's laying on his bed, he's wide awake, he's chained his leg up so he can't get up in the middle of the night, but it seems to be easy for him to unstrap it. So surely, if he's worried about that, if it's so easy for him to do it, why would he strap himself up in the first place? Maybe he's worried that he doesn't know what he's doing half the time, so he's just laying there strapped up and he falls asleep. He can't cause any damage. So as I say, he just seems like this likable, everyday, like British lad. I know a bunch of them. So he's very relatable as Stephen, but things don't make sense. Then we are also kind of introduced to, and I think it's him in the opening teaser sequence, I think it's Ethan Hawke's character who's playing a villain here. A very interesting villain because he's not itching his beard and saying, oh yes, I'm going to run the world, but he's clearly some kind of opposing figure. So I think it's him we see. We see him with, as again, I'm not sure it's him, but he's drinking tequila, I think. He gets a hammer, he wraps up the glass, smashes it, puts the glass very carefully in his shoes and puts his bare feet in the shoes and starts walking with a cane. So he's got a cane. I remember him having a cane. It's definitely Ethan Hawke's character. And so a very interesting opening sequence. So as we see him go to the museum, his boss doesn't like him very much. He goes in speaking to this young girl, trying to explain things to her. He gets told off by his boss because all he's doing is selling sweets and merch. He's not actually a tour guide. And so we start to see that he's hearing voices. He has this weird episode when he wakes up in some other country. I'm not sure what country it is. Please forgive me. And they start shooting at him. It's quite funny. He starts waving at them through their window, and then they start shooting at him. He's running away. And this is where he comes face to face with Ethan Hawke's character. He seems to be some kind of religious nut. He's got these scales tattooed, and he gets people to touch his hands. And if the scales don't stay level, literally, he kills them. Or somehow they just die. We see an old lady die because the scales are not in her favor. Now, there's one person he touches where the scales stay level, looks this person in the eye and goes, this is a good person. So that's interesting, isn't it? I think that's variables with what's going on in Hollywood today and social media, where everyone seems to decide who's a good person and who's a bad person. So maybe that's in the comics, or maybe it's reference to the world that we live in today. And so this is a very mysterious story. It starts off that way and you don't really know what's going on. You know there's more to Stephen than meets the eye. So then we get this situation where they're after him and he's hearing the voice and he's got this thing in his pocket, this yellow thing, I forgot what they were calling it, and everybody is after it. So he tries to hand it over, but somehow it's pulling him away. And the voice in his head is going, I'm not going to let you do this. So clearly, this guy has an alter ego. He's got multiple personalities. I'm not really sure if this is a condition or if this is some kind of superpower. So it's a very interesting first episode. The thing is with this, when you start so well, you really need to keep that level. I don't really want to talk about the other 3 episodes I've already seen because I don't want to go there. And I know some people have, but because you lot are only just seeing the first episode now, I don't think it's fair. So we'll talk about episode 2 next week, then episode 3 the following week, and episode 4 the week after that. But this is a very, very good episode. We'll call it a pilot, right? We'll call it a pilot. I don't know if there's going to be many, many seasons of Moon Knight, but it's a very good first start. And when you've got someone like Oscar playing this role, you cannot lose. The writing is very strong. It's very good. The production values are very good. Look, I'm not going to say it's the best thing I've ever seen, and neither does it have to be the best thing I've ever seen. We have to get out of that habit. But I did really enjoy it and was really intrigued. The number one thing I really liked was Isaacs as Stephen, because he's so likable and he's so relatable. And because I'm British and it's set in London or wherever it's set, that's relatable to me and it's great. And it really does feel like they're in London. Clearly, I think they did shoot in London. I think they did anyway. It could be CGI. Who knows? But it does feel British, which I like. But beyond that, Isaacs is very relatable as this character, and you just want to know him further, and you feel devastated for him that he's going through this because he genuinely doesn't know what's going on. Things become creepier and creepier. As I say, he hears voices, and he literally doesn't know, as Stephen, what the fuck's going on. And I love the bit near the end where literally he's looking in the mirror, his reflection, and his reflection's going, let me take over. And Stephen doesn't know whether to trust what he's seeing, but he agrees to in the end. Ultimately, he's been talking to Moon Knight. Now, this is very, I don't know Moon Knight. I've never read the comics, so I don't really understand if, well, clearly Moon Knight must be one of his other personalities. Could this be a condition, or is the Moon Knight kind of version of him real? Because Moon Knight takes over and deals with the creature. But from his own point of view, there may not be a Moon Knight. It may be him doing all of that. It all might, you know, this man may be a very, very mentally ill man. As I say, I don't really know the Moon Knight character. It's interesting, a lot of people have said to me, oh, well, Moon Knight's like Batman. I just don't understand how. Totally different. And I've been going with this as well. But watching that, you know, it didn't feel that way. But I did like what I saw. It's, as I say, the tone is very different to usual Marvel stuff. You know, I think the last Disney Plus MCU thing we saw was Hawkeye. I wasn't impressed at all with anything. It just wasn't impressive. I like the actors. I like the kind of relationship that Hawkeye had with the young female character whose name escapes me now. I do apologize. But I thought that was really good. I didn't like what they did with Kingpin. It just didn't feel like the same Kingpin I enjoyed in Netflix Daredevil, or should I say Disney Plus's Daredevil now. But I really like this. This is a great first step. And we will definitely go into what I think of episode 2s, 3s, and 4s. What am I saying? 4s and 3s. Right, I mean episode 2, 3, and 4. So I'm looking forward to discussing that. But so far, I'd say so good. But the question is, will they stick the landing? Well, I don't know that because I've only seen up to episode 4. So we'll have to see if it does stick the landing and where they're going with this. Because as I say, I haven't read the comics. I only know what you lot know in terms of what we saw. So if you know the comics, that's great. But I don't know anything further from what I've sort of seen. But what I like about this also, it's a very small cast. So we don't have to waste time on filler characters, you know, focusing on that character. It really is his world. You know, it's his world. It's Oscar Isaac's world, and we're just populating it, which is great. So you don't have to worry about so many characters. Of course, that's hard work for Oscar because he's basically in every scene, which I actually like, but it's really hard work for the said actor, but I admire it, and he did a really, really good job with this character. As I say, we will talk about episode 2 next week, and I'll let you know what I think. But so far, 5 stars for Moon Knight, episode 1. This has been Movies TV Mad. I am Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Just like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this perfection. And I'll see you later when I'm live here on Movies TV Mad. Until then, until we see each other again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.